Today's topic is about global perspectives, India's neighborhood. Now, Suvam has worked extensively in the region. My only uh, humble request to Suvam would be you are addressing a bunch of people who are somewhere between 18 and 24. And I strongly believe that they will make it, shake it, and break it. So it's over to you to inspire them and to tell them what the real picture is and what it takes to make it big out there.
Well, good morning, everybody, and I would like to thank CEO sir, Principal sir, Professor Bakshi, and Professor Chatterjee for having me here, and all the students who have braved the not so chilly winter in Calcutta. But I know that in Calcutta, we often take out our monkey caps or mufflers during the winter because I've spent, I've seen minus 30 degree to minus 35-degree temperature in China. So when I look back into those days, it's really different. But yeah, I would like to thank each of you, all the students, for joining and listening to me. As Professor Bakshi summed up very nicely, you can ask any question. That's the spirit all the students should have as she guided you, because any question is a question, and this world of journalism works on the basis of questions. So all we seek throughout our life as a journalist is the answer. So that's why you can ask me any question, and I'm not making it a very serious, academic talk, because your professors, your teachers, your visiting faculties, they are wise enough to teach you the nitty-gritty of journalism, communication theories, and all. What I am going to tell you for the next 1 hour, or maybe half an hour or 1 hour, Professor Chatterjee will guide me accordingly. All about, I'm going to talk about my life experience and how you can also do the same, because I heard Professor Bakshi saying that all of us, like I think four speakers will take part in this 2 day long program. All of us are from outside Calcutta. In fact, I am actually from outside Calcutta. I lived throughout my student life in Shantiniketan, a small but significant place. And since then, I went to Delhi, and from there, I went to South Africa. I worked in South Africa. But today's topic is not all about South Africa. Today's topic is predominantly, I think, focused on another country where I work, is China, and the rest of India's neighbors. So, as far as India's neighbors are concerned, I'm sure I have been quite aware of what Professor Chatterjee has been doing. I think he has worked extensively on Bangladesh. He has got a sound knowledge and understanding about journalism in Bangladesh. I have been following his writing for a long time. We often discuss about his perspective about Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is a very important country for India. If you really see the history, even if you see the geopolitical developments over the last few decades. So, apart from Bangladesh, India's neighbors, as all of you know, are Pakistan, China, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bhutan, Nepal, all the SAARC countries. So why I'm saying I'm repeating all the names, because you can't single out, when you are a journalist, when you will join journalism, you can't single out a single country. Oh, China is a big country, that's a powerful, mighty country, so I will always focus on China. No, I think as a journalist, you have to be very objective and you have to be unbiased towards all the countries. So you have to treat, at least I treat Nepal. Of course, I worked in China. When I was working in China, so my main focus was on China. But apart from that, I, as a journalist, and I still consider myself a journalism student, because life teaches you a lot. So as a journalism student, I regularly follow the news updates from all our neighboring countries, including Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, of course, and Maldives, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan. Even Bhutan is a small country. There is hardly any big media presence there, but they have a few handful of newspapers and websites, and they have the state broadcaster, their official television channel. There is hardly any journalism activities there, but still, whatever is going on, as journalism student, we should follow. So all of you, I hope all of you, every day you read newspapers. That's the most important thing in our life. You have to be up to date every day, every morning. So the day you get up, you read newspapers. These days, it's very easy thanks to our smartphones. I'm sure each of us, we are having access to smartphones. So you can check all the news websites. I'm sure that doesn't consume too much time in our everyday life. And try to read as much as you can read beyond West Bengal or India for that matter. And some people say, oh, you have worked in 3 4 countries outside India, so is it and it's a big challenge, how difficult it is for any of us, can we do it? I can tell you, each of you can do it. If being a journalism student, in fact, I didn't study journalism in Shantiniketan. Later I pursued journalism. So when I was like, I spent 20 years of my life in Shantiniketan. If I can work in different countries, despite spending my childhood and my school days and college days in Shantiniketan, why can't you? You are exposed to a much well-connected world, because we are from a generation when we are in school, we didn't have internet. Now we have the internet access. So you can today, sitting in Calcutta, you can read Economist, you can read Washington Post, you can read South China Morning Post, so all the newspapers. So I think that's very important, how you keep yourself updated, up to date. And another important thing I would say, which actually, which is, I always say that's the foundation of me being a journalist, because when I used to be a kid, I used to be a very, like in class 3 or 4, I used to read a lot. I used to go through the world map, world atlas, and I used to study a lot about you know about the countries, the capitals. So you have to, as a journalist, I think once you start working, once you start thinking about working in global media, one is you have to keep yourself up to date about the global affairs. Secondly, the most important thing is understanding the geography, understanding at least the capitals of all the prominent countries of the world. So that helps you. Trust me. Right now, I may be sounding a bit silly what to do with journalism and the country capitals, but it helps. Once you grow up, once you become a journalist, it helps. Like, it has to be on your fingertips. So that's the idea. And about journalism. Now, let me come to the point, because it's a great privilege, as I said. Apart from Calcutta, is the I would say the hotbed of India's culture. India's Renaissance movement started in Calcutta. And why I'm talking about Renaissance movement, because I'm sure that all of you have read about the first editor of India, Indian editor of India. That's none other than Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So he was the founding father of Indian journalism, among other things, other phenomenal things he had done in his life. All of you belong to the place where Raja Ram Mohan Roy started Indian journalism. So I think we should we are really proud to be part of the same state. But as I was discussing, let's look beyond what you see around you. Let's look beyond what's happening in West Bengal or in India. Of course, once you start working for a newspaper, news channel, news website, as you all of you know that there is something called beat. So you are a beat reporter. So if you are assigned to the health beat, you will cover health stories. If you are assigned to the crime beat, you will cover crime stories. So you will confine yourself to that particular beat. But apart from that, just stick out, stick your neck out of it, and just kind of read what are the other stories happening around the world, around you. Like you can read about sports, you can read about art and culture. So all the stories you have to give equal importance to that. And I'm sure that each of you are you are millennials. So the millennials have I have seen that they are much more like inquisitive than what we were when we are growing up, thanks to your access to a lot of information, communication, and education mediums. So I think that way you can utilize it. So now let me talk about the media scene. Why it's difficult? I'm sure that each of you have certain points, certain questions about why India is different from the rest of the world, or why China is different. So let me tell you very frankly and honestly, we live in a country still now where journalism is very, very free and fearless. I can tell you, because from my past experience in other countries, in India, you have even sky is not the limit. You can because there are so many hundreds of TV channels, newspapers, news magazines, news portals. You have so many avenues of journalism in India. So
Sorry for
that's why,
interrupting, Shubham.
yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, Shubham, because I will come in with a rejoinder of your statement that India is a free country for journalism, probably because you come from China. Because even in India, we see a lot of dissent, and that's not being pronounced well. But at this point of time, when you're trying to talk about the character of media in these neighboring countries, if I may humbly request you to try and spell out to the students what it is like reporting as an international journalist in Beijing, what it is like doing that in New Delhi, and what it is like doing the same thing in Johannesburg. What are the different characteristic features that that the student must have in mind to understand the global media perspective?
Yes, exactly. I was exactly coming to that point only. That's why I talked about India being free and fearless because, see, in this world, everything is apparent, everything has got perspective. If you don't have the night, then you don't value the day. So that's why I feel whatever, I mean, we talk about a lot of things about India, but India's beauty is its chaos. India's beauty is its, the all kinds of, chaotic scenario. So India, traditionally and historically, if you really see, India has always come out of it. Like in our history, we have not history, sorry. In our mythology, we have seen this the Samudra Manthan, the ocean churning. So after churning, there comes the nectar or the Amrit. So similarly, I believe in India we have so much churning every day. Like as Arjun rightly said, that it's about descent and a lot of problems. But working in China, so that's why I've said, like if you haven't seen the night, then you don't value the day. So that's the thing. So in China, so that's what I was about to tell you. So in India, I feel all of you are lucky because even today. In India, there is quite a few alternative media, and they are doing quite well. You can you don't have to be pro establishment. But in China, the difference is in China, mainly and primarily, each and every media organization are state controlled. State controlled means there is always censorship. Censorship, how it works, I can give you two anecdotes, otherwise you'll get bored. Like in China, you can't watch, if you watch BBC or CNN or any other news channel, first of all, not too many news channels are allowed to watch in China. People can't watch, common people, they can't watch BBC or CNN. They can't watch foreign media. They can't have any access to foreign newspapers and media. Only in China, the newspapers are like People's Daily. They have couple of newspapers. People's Daily is the the Communist Party of China the ruling regime, their newspaper. The news agency is Xinhua. Xinhua is another, that's a news agency like we have our PTI and UNI. So, but that one is, Xinhua is totally state controlled. People's Daily is published by the ruling party. And then you have the news channels like CCTV, China Central Television. So I used to work for the international news channel, CGTN, China Global Television Network. And they also have newspapers like Global Times. They also have good newspaper, decent, top quality newspaper like you have a China Daily. So those newspapers are actually good. But there is always you have to strike a balance. Like you can't publish any story about the China's leadership, no negative stories. But yes, if you really see, because I was in Wuhan, I was in Beijing during the pandemic. So wasn't there any negative stories about the pandemic in Chinese media? No, there were. There were several of mishandling, sacking of officials because they, due to negligence, a lot of things happened. So those stories used to be published, in Chinese media. But yes, there was always an approval from the highest authority. So it's the Chinese regime who decided which story, what kind of story about their government or authorities will be published. So there's always filter. So that filter is and was always in place for any story about China. But when it came to, and also another thing, it's not blindly about China. Like for example, I can give you another example. That's the Galwan Valley clash, in which India gave the details about the disease, number of disease. There were like 20 odd people, 20 odd soldiers of India. They died during that scuffle in Galwan Valley. But in the Chinese media, that number never came. And but in India, just imagine, just think about it. Like there was a clash. The government is saying, okay, there was a clash. Some people died. But then, if you don't, can you imagine a situation when our country doesn't give the numbers of those who were killed and their details, families? No, it's not possible in even today's India. But in China, even today, there was no numbers given. Nobody knows how many people died there. Nobody knows people from which provinces in China were there. Like when we talk about the deaths of soldiers, there's always a media statement by the army PR or the government that so and so from this state, so and so from this state in, say, West Bengal, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh. So these numbers are always there, the details are always there. But in Chinese media, even today, there is no details. So China believes, but I don't say China. I mean, it's not that the media is very bad. No, the media scene is quite good. In fact, one of the best newspapers in Asia, which is actually which can compete with some of the top-notch newspapers like New York Times, Washington Post, or the Daily Telegraph, is a Hong Kong-based newspaper called South China Morning Post. If you have a time, since I am talking about India and its neighbors, you can read South China Morning Post. That is very critical about the Chinese leadership, but that's a privately owned. But now it's no longer privately owned because South China Morning Post is a century-old news organization and institution. And a few years ago, that was bought over by none other than Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, who is currently missing. Like nobody knows where he is right now over the last 2 months, because 2 months ago during a business summit in Shanghai, he spoke certain things about, as all of you mostly speak, not today, but last few decades, that our bureaucracy, red tapeism, those kind of things. So he spoke about that he can't do business because of certain red tapeism in the government, in the banking regulations, a lot of things. So that since then, nobody knows his whereabouts. He has disappeared. And even today, nobody has come out with any kind of, not even the Chinese government or any other authorities or Jack Ma's company, Alibaba, they haven't come out with any statement, oh, he is not well, he is, no, nobody knows. No statement has been issued till today. So South China Morning Post was bought by Alibaba founder Jack Ma just a few years ago. But even after Jack Ma once he said that he is a card-holding member of the Chinese Communist Party. So basically, he is part of. I mean, he was a member. He is a member, but still, South China Morning Post published a lot of stories about the Chinese leadership. In fact, as all of, I mean, he was a member. He is a member, but still, South China Morning Post published a lot of stories about the Chinese leadership. In fact, as all of you know that the Wuhan, the coronavirus in Wuhan started in November 17. The first case was reported on November 17, 2019. So that story was broken. The date was given by an exclusive breaking news story by South China Morning Post. So China still considers, and right now it's more stringent about taking control of Hong Kong. They call it a special administrative region of China. So Hong Kong is pretty much controlled by the Chinese regime. Even after that, South China Morning Post, they have been publishing a lot of bold stories, which many of us can't even imagine today in other parts of the world. So that's how Chinese journalism. I gave you a brief idea, and also another example I want to give you. It's not all about cover up. Like the Wuhan coronavirus started in Wuhan from a seafood market. So there is an investigative reporting on that seafood market, all kinds of animals and different, I mean, I'm not naming all those. I know it's a morning time in Calcutta. So those animal meats used to be sold. No, foreigners didn't say that. That report was done by a newspaper, a lesser known newspaper, which people outside China don't know much about it, is called The Paper. The Paper in Shanghai, it's a Shanghai based state, local party owned company. So the paper, they gave details about what kind of meats are sold in the market, all kinds of creepy crawlies are being sold in the market. So that investigative piece of work came from the Chinese media itself, didn't come from outside. So Chinese media, they are trying to do as many stories they can do. But yes, once it comes to the top leadership, Xi Jinping, the president, or the standing committee members of the government, of the regime, they can't do those stories. They can't talk about them. But rest of the people, like the Wuhan municipal, party secretary was sacked because of negligence during the early days of COVID. Because the coronavirus started in say November, December. We knew. I was in China. We knew that there is a mystery pneumonia going on in Wuhan. People were scared. Chinese were scared also to go to Wuhan at that time. But Chinese government, they officially said that the virus is human to human infection is possible only on 23rd of January, when they started the lockdown in China, across China. So for 2 months, the authorities, they were not acting. So those, officials were sacked by the Chinese top government, central leadership. So those people were provincial leadership or their state leadership. So those stories actually were published by the Chinese media. Same with Pakistan. If I give you a couple of examples, some of the investigative stories about Pakistan, China. There is a CPEC, they call it China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is part of China's Belt and Road, and which is aggressively protested and objected by India, because the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor goes through the areas which are part of India. India always consider those like Aksai Chin and all. So those are considered as part of Indian territory. So that's why India always opposed China's Belt and Road, because of the CPEC. So the CPEC, there were a lot of scams, a lot of financial wrongdoings related to CPEC were done by those kind of investigative stories, were not done by any Indian media or foreign media, by Pakistan's Dawn newspaper. And the most well-known Professor Chatterjee must know him. There is one journalist who's not even a local Pakistani. He is a Parsi reporter. His name is Cyril Sam. Cyril Sam has been one of their most whistleblowing journalists in Pakistan. So journalism in Southeast Asia is still having a chance. It's still I'm very optimistic person, so that's why I believe like each of you, once you join the field of journalism, then even that time you will have enough objectivity, you will have enough freedom to work. But yeah, freedom, it varies from time to time, countries to countries, and regime to regime. Like even in I'm rightly in Dubai, but of course I can't write about the ruler here. Even if I want to write a piece, so every country has their own set of censorship. India has got its own, other countries have got their own. So you have to live with it. And you have to be still try to be objective and as eager, as keen as possible to break stories. So that's the, I think, bottom line. And I don't want to drag much. Now I'll go into the Q&A section, that segment, I would say. So if you have any questions, just
Right.
let me know.
Right. I'll ask the students to keep posting their questions, but I have a few questions before that so that uh, we can shed more light on journalistic practices in the
Yeah.
region. Uh, and here I consider myself as one of them. And let me ask you, what does it take to understand the region, and why should I at all, sitting in Calcutta studying media studies or media science, aspiring to become a journalist, why should I at all care about, say, Afghanistan, Pakistan? Because the jobs that I apply for do not take me to those countries. I'm sure these are questions in the mind, yeah, because and you go back 20 years and then you start feeling okay, why bother about them that far? Let's try and find a job here. How important is that? Because now that we have traveled this distance, when we look back, we I find myself I was so ignorant and so hopeless when I began. So I mean, how important is it for the young aspiring journalists to understand the region and start knowing about it?
Yeah, absolutely pertinent question you have asked, and I'm sure like I would have asked the same question when if I would have in your place. And Professor Chatterjee, as I know that he is also very well traveled. He has worked in Saudi Arabia. He also worked in the UK for BBC also. So it's a really great question, and that's why I wanted to tell you that I'm not from Calcutta or Kolkata. That's why I'm saying like 20, 25 years ago. I was clueless, but yeah, why you should know. So there lies the answer. What I am today, because I think today at that time, even going to Kolkata was a kind of adventure for us. Like, I was in Shantiniketan, going to Kolkata. Oh, how to take buses there? Because in Shantiniketan, we always, we rode bicycle to go to one place to another. In Calcutta, oh, there is metro. Okay, so that kind of it's a life is a learning process. So, what I believe in today, what you learn, it may not impact your career or life today, but it will, and I'm sure that will definitely play a huge role in shaping you up as a future professional in near future, maybe 5 years down the line, maybe 10 years down the line, maybe 15 years down the line, maybe 20 years down the line. I'm sure here all the distinguished people who are sitting here today, including CEO sir, principal sir, Ms. Bakshi, Professor Chatterjee, all of you know you from your own life stories. I'm sure that the students will get motivated. So what you asked exactly. So once you start your career, just be honest, and there is no end to learning. The more you learn, there'll be, I think, you will grow up as a better person. So, irrespective of, as I mentioned, even if your first job is to write about certain art festivals or art galleries in Kolkata, but don't lose your hope. You keep on reading about what's happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Bangladesh, what's happening in Nepal, what's happening in Bhutan. So you keep on reading, because when I started my career, my first story was I went to a fashion show. My editor, I was a trainee, I was an intern. So he sent me to cover a fashion show, and coming from a place like Shantiniketan, I didn't know what this fashion, what are the silhouettes, what are the certain terms, kuchu and all these things. What does it mean? So I was totally novice, but since I was not interested much, but I went to cover, then I started reading for my own benefit. Nobody told me, no editor told me, no teacher told me, but I started reading about fashion. That's how I got to know about Louis Vuitton to Karl Lagerfeld to all these people, and Donatella Versace. So every day, even in India, if you really see, the other day, that's why I was not astonished when I read about the eminent Indian designer Satya Paul. He passed away last week. So there is no end of learning, and as a journalism students, I think learning is our main weapon. So if you can use it properly, I think you can rule the world.
Shall I? There are a few questions coming in. Anshuman Tripathi, what are some of the research methods one should approach while working on international relations stories in terms of concerned countries, history, and status quo?
Mr. Chatterjee,
Yes, sir.
can I ask one question?
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah. I just wanted to check that are we still following some ethics in journalism?
Okay, yeah. Shall I give the answer?
You have to. I will not.
Very good question.
Okay. Okay, it's absolutely a pinpointed question, and if I use the cricketing terms, it's a bouncer or a yorker, sir. But good that I'm glad that you asked the question, and I'm sure the students will also follow that. Yes, see, ethics, morality. To be honest, for me right now, I can tell you maybe 20 years ago I had a different understanding of that, but these are all apparent. These are not fixed. I mean, I can give you one example. When I was studying journalism at Delhi's Indian Institute of Mass Communication, so we used to have a lot of foreign students. They used to come for journalism training. So there was a class in which the teacher asked the question. So what is the definition of news? Okay. So one American journalist, he stood up and he told he said like this is news, the exact definition of news. Then after that, one Iraqi reporter, he stood up, he said, but I have a different definition of news. I don't have the same definition of news as the American journalist is having. So it varies from country to country. I'm sure ethics and morality, because I am going to connect Mr. Anshuman Tripathi's question with this, is like, what should be the approach and research method? So that's what I'm saying. Like every country has got its own set of norms. You can't break it because at the end of the day, every country has got their sovereignty. So right now, I can give you an example. In India, we call it Kashmir. That's it. In China, in Pakistan, they call it India occupied Kashmir, or they say yes.
Okay.
So yeah, like we say Pakistan occupied Kashmir, but in China, although I mean it's debatable, but still they say we don't meddle into other countries' affairs. So they call Kashmir, or any other international media, Professor Chatterjee also knows, India administered Kashmir. India administered Kashmir.
And Al Jazeera
Yes.
calls them freedom fighters.
Yes,
So
militants.
we had a huge fight on that as well.
Yeah, even in Chinese media, they don't call these mujahideens and all Al-Qaeda as terrorists. They call them militants. So the definition, so similarly, ethics also, it's debatable. It may vary from somebody's ethics to other person's ethics. So I think it's, there is no, especially India is such a vast country. And we have we have such a diversified cultures and like all kinds of languages and all kinds of, food habits. So India is a plural, India is the ultimate symbol is pluralism. So I think in a plural country, pluralist culture, I mean, ethics is still debatable. It depends on how I view. because there are certain situations as a journalist while covering an international story like Taiwan, for example, WHO, this entire coronavirus thing. Taiwan is a country. I have been to Taiwan. I have visited. They call themselves Taiwan. Their official name is ROC, Republic of China. They call them ROC, Republic of China. They also call them China. So Republic of China, whereas the China mainland, which the Beijing is capital, they call them PRC, People's Republic of China. So both are, so while writing in China, so of course we can't call Taiwan as a country. So we have to call, because China considers Taiwan as their province. So a breakaway province. So while writing about Taiwan in China, we always wrote, Chinese Taipei, or China's Taiwan province. So these vary, because for China, they are ethically, they can't call it a country, an independent country. Similarly, Taiwan is not recognized by the UN. But do you think all the countries in the world recognized by the UN? No. There are more than 200 countries. There are around 195 countries are recognized by the UN. So what happened to the other 10 countries or 20 countries which are not, which are independent countries for that matter, but not recognized by the UN? So I think this ethics and morality, these things, these are very apparent, and this very. But as an Indian, from outside, I can see India. Maybe it's like playing chess. Two of you are playing chess. If I am the third person watching you play chess, I may have more moves, like from the because I am not playing, so I can think about a lot of other moves which you may overlook at that time. So similar approach I am making. So from that approach, I think that's very important. But it's a good question, and the students should know about it. There is no sacrosanct thing. This is ethics. This is not ethics. No, it's not. There is nothing sacrosanct about it. It can vary with time to time, situation to situation.
I think we would agree that we have also moved on towards data journalism primarily because we have felt the crisis of lack or absence or too much of ethics in journalism. Now we are moving towards data journalism primarily because we want to believe in facts and numbers. We are using numbers to tell stories because numbers are mathematical, arithmetic. You can bring the context to a very limited scope and scope when it comes to data journalism. I'll take that. The other question asked by Shweta Gupta, India's press index 142. Is there any future for Indian journalists? And quickly club that with putting censorship on digital journalism. Will it be a negative effect? Okay,
I can see all the questions on my, I think I have opened that tab. Yeah. So, Mr. Anshuman, I hope the research methods first things first. So, research methods which I was talking about, you have to understand that country and the country where you are reporting, how that country sees, because some countries accept Taiwan as a country, some countries don't, including China. Similarly, going to your next question, what do you make of India entering the UN Security Council at a time when Beijing is asserting itself? Yes, this is very significant because China is now assertive power, and China has completely turned around their status, because in the starting days of the pandemic, they were viewed as a weakening power, but they turned it completely around to become an assertive power because China has completely used the pandemic to their strength, I would say. So they completely turned it around. So similarly, India, in fact, India, that's the thing. In India, out of chaos, there is always a churning. Then we always emerge stronger. If you really see today, we are one of the largest vaccine exporters to the world. And right now, our vaccine diplomacy is going to play a significant role. And being part of the UNSC, to be honest, I am not very optimistic because it's more of a routine job at the end of the day, because India is not part of the P5 or the veto powering country. So a permanent UNSC seat is the most deserving thing India can think about. I mean, non-permanent members, do you really know today India is part of the UNSC that non-member, non-permanent member, one of the members of non-permanent countries. But do you really think before that, before India, there used to be countries like Gabon, there used to be countries like Senegal. They were also part of the UNSC for 2 years. Yeah, did they make any much significant difference? No, not really. So I am sure, like, it's always, we feel proud to be an Indian, but I think it's still debatable whether you can, because with the presence of the P5 countries, India can't play a massive role as all of you expect. No, India can't be a full member right now. India is not a full member. I mean, like proper, UNSC P5 country. So we have to wait for that. So next question I'm taking is Mr. Vedant Sharma. Putting censorship on digital journalism, will this step make deteriorate its quality? See, that's another debatable thing. Some kind of censorship is also needed because all our WhatsApp journalism we see these days are nothing but digital journalism as well. I mean, censorship, I mean, of course, there is some kind of regulation. It's debatable, but still, I believe that there has to be some sort of regulation. I'm against any kind of censorship because we live in a free country. And going by that index of India ranks 142. See, these ratings and indices, I don't believe much because these can be, these are all like, like your television channel rating, TRPs and all. Like, the sample size is so less, and on what basis? Because India has got, like, for example, I think I felt more, I didn't have any problem working in China, living in China. People say China is not human rights wise, China is not, it's ranked in a very low position. But as an Indian working there, living there, and I roamed around, I have been to Tibet also. Tibet is another sensitive region. I have been to Tibet, I have been to Lhasa, but I never faced any problem. I never faced any hostility. Crime rate in China is almost zero. Okay, so people, their version is, if our people is happy, okay, you can say in China people can't abuse President Xi Jinping openly on Facebook or Twitter. Facebook is banned, Twitter is banned. They can't openly abuse the president. But is it very necessary to abuse everybody, your country's regime? Like their logic, I'm not saying that I am right, but Chinese people told me, as long as we can have food, as long as we can have our own aspirations of sending our children to abroad, our economic condition, there is hardly any poverty left. China, they lifted like 800 million people over the last few decades out of poverty. So as long as our people are happy, they can buy whatever they want. They have money to buy food. So why do you need always dissent? Why do you always need to abuse the president? So they are happy with their regular daily lifestyle. So that's why. So, but in terms of indices, you will find that, oh, China is not human rights list, watchers list. They will give China very low rank. But Chinese people are happy. I've seen them. I've never seen any Chinese being complaining about, oh, I can't get my rights to criticize my president. They are bothered about how much they will work hard, how much they will, how can they get more money from stock markets, their new job. They're aspirational societies like us. They also love to travel abroad. So that's in their mind. So I think it's very objective and it's very debatable thing. And next is after digital. So as I said, so digital journalism, some kind of censorship is needed, I believe, because otherwise people can write anything and everything. And just like WhatsApp university forwards, like, you can get all sorts of misinformation through if there is no control at all. So next is neighbor countries, how this affects international relations. Fake news, exactly. So fake news is the biggest problem in today's world, irrespective of your countries. America, the US also publish a lot of fake news. They have websites like Breitbart and Onion is of course is a fun website, but they also publish a lot of times they get it wrong. Same with Indians, we also publish, like, circulate a lot of fake news around us. China also, see, China has got stringent regulation. Still in China, I have spotted several fake news. And, so fake news is not all about India. Fake news is all about the entire world today. Because of internet, we live in an internet era. So that's why I think, since and nobody can control human beings individually. So that's why the state can control a certain website. But how can you control myself? I can send a fake news to my friend, and that friend probably will believe, oh, Shubham is right. So this is a correct story. This is a fact. So we have to differentiate between fake news and fact. That's also a tremendous responsibility of all of you, because now you are learning more about the news media. So you have to differentiate between what is good, what is bad, what is fake news, what is fact. So that is more important. With time you will learn how to handle the situation, but there's no end of learning. So I think it's better all of you should start, you put emphasis on differentiating fake news and fact. So that's very important. I'm sure Professor Chatterjee, Professor Bakshi, all of them are present. So they will definitely guide you towards the right direction.
Right. We are almost reaching the end of the 1 hour session. So if there's not many more questions coming in right now, I would ask Shubham to spare some more time sometime later on and give the comfort lecture sessions, if that's possible. But as of now, I'll have to conclude the session. I'll ask the Dean to say a few words before we wrap it up.
Thank you, Mr. Pal, for sparing time for our students. And it's good that we had an insight about what is going on in the field of China, because we don't have first-hand information. What we read gets reported in the newspapers and the third-party report. Also, because of international relations, it is important that we sometimes, from time to time, have people who have actually worked in the field and talk to us. Because what happens is that the third-party reports are obviously, because of media, flavored. There is some sort of angle always coming in. So it's necessary to have that. So thank you for that insight. And I hope that in future, we can have a little more intensive sessions where we are taking up single topics. In the long run, if that is possible, that would be of great. And thank you so much for giving us time.